Top 10 countries that don't allow Americans. At number 10 we have North Korea, a reclusive nation known for its strict isolationist policies. Americans are not allowed to enter North Korea without special permission from the government, which is rarely granted. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK, tightly controls its borders, making it one of the most inaccessible countries in the world. Travel to North Korea is highly regulated, and visitors are closely monitored by government ministers. The U.S. State Department strongly advises against travel to North Korea due to the risk of arbitrary arrest and detention, as well as the lack of diplomatic assistance available to American citizens in case of emergencies. Next on our list is Syria, a country torn by conflict and political instability. Due to safety concerns and ongoing civil unrest, Americans are advised against traveling to Syria and are not permitted entry. The Syrian government requires all visitors to obtain a visa prior to arrival, but American citizens are effectively barred from entering the country due to restrictions imposed by the U.S. government. The Syrian civil war, which began in 2011, has resulted in widespread violence, displacement, and destruction, making it one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Travel to Syria is considered extremely risky, and those who defy the ban may face severe consequences, including arrest, kidnapping, or worse. At number 8 we have Iran. Iran, a nation with a rich history and cultural heritage, restricts entry to American citizens. Tensions between the two countries have led to stringent visa regulations, making travel to Iran difficult for Americans. The U.S. government advises against all travel to Iran due to the risk of kidnapping, arrest, and detention of U.S. citizens. While Iran boasts stunning architecture, breathtaking landscapes, and warm hospitality, political tensions and anti-American sentiment prevail, posing risks to American travelers. Those who attempt to enter Iran without proper authorization may be denied entry at the border or face legal repercussions, including deportation and travel bans.
At number 7 we have Yemen. Located in the heart of the Middle East, this is another country where Americans are not allowed. The ongoing conflict and security threats in Yemen have prompted the government to prohibit entry to U.S. citizens. The U.S. State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory, urging Americans to avoid travel to Yemen due to terrorism, civil unrest, and armed conflict. Yemen has been embroiled in a devastating civil war since 2015, resulting in widespread violence, famine, and a humanitarian crisis of staggering proportions. American citizens attempting to enter Yemen risk their safety and security, as well as the possibility of being targeted by extremist groups or becoming inadvertently involved in the conflict. In 6th place, we have Libya, a country grappling with political instability and security challenges. Americans are barred from entering Libya due to safety concerns and the lack of diplomatic relations between the two nations. Following the overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi's regime in 2011, Libya descended into chaos, with rival factions vying for power and control. The security situation remains precarious, with frequent clashes between armed groups, terrorist attacks, and the presence of extremist organizations. The U.S. government advises against all travel to Libya and has imposed restrictions on American citizens attempting to enter the country. Those who ignore the ban risk their safety and security in a country plagued by violence and lawlessness. At number 5, Somalia, a country plagued by piracy and terrorism, is off limits to American travelers. The volatile security situation in Somalia makes it unsafe for foreigners, including citizens of the United States. The U.S. State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory, warning Americans to avoid all travel to Somalia due to the threat of piracy, terrorism, and violent crime. Somalia has been without an effective central government since the early 1990s, resulting in widespread lawlessness, instability, and conflict. American citizens attempting to enter Somalia risk being targeted by armed groups, kidnapped for ransom, or caught in the crossfire of ongoing violence. The risk of terrorist attacks, including bombings and shootings, is ever present in Somalia's major cities and public spaces. At number 4, we have Iraq, a nation recovering from years of conflict and insurgency. Due to security threats and the presence of extremist groups, Americans are not permitted to enter Iraq without special authorization. The U.S. government strongly advises against travel to Iraq due to the risk of terrorism, kidnapping, and armed conflict. While Iraq has made significant strides towards stability and reconstruction since the defeat of ISIS in 2017, security remains a major concern, particularly in areas affected by the conflict. American citizens attempting to enter Iraq may face serious risks to their safety and security, including targeted attacks by insurgent groups or becoming inadvertently involved in violence or unrest. Sudan comes in at number 3. Sudan is a country in North Africa which imposes restrictions on American travelers. Political tensions and concerns over safety have led to the Sudanese government barring entry to U.S. citizens. The U.S. State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory, advising Americans to avoid all travel to Sudan due to the risk of terrorism, armed conflict, and civil unrest. Sudan has experienced decades of internal conflict, including a protracted civil war that culminated in the secession of South Sudan in 2011. While the situation has improved in recent years, sporadic violence and instability persist, particularly in regions such as Darfur and the two areas. American citizens attempting to enter Sudan may face risks to their safety and security, including targeted attacks by armed groups or becoming inadvertently involved in local disputes. At number 2, we have Cuba. Cuba, a Caribbean island known for its vibrant culture and history, restricts entry to American citizens for political reasons. While travel to Cuba has become more accessible in recent years, Americans still face limitations on visiting the island. Following the Cuban Revolution of 1959, the United States imposed a trade embargo and travel restrictions on Cuba, which remain in place to this day. While some restrictions have been eased under the Obama administration, including the restoration of diplomatic relations in 2015, travel to Cuba for tourism purposes remains prohibited for U.S. citizens. Americans can only travel to Cuba under specific categories, such as family visits, official government business, or educational activities. Despite recent changes in U.S. policy towards Cuba, American travelers may still encounter challenges and limitations when planning a trip to the island. And finally, at the top of our list, we have Venezuela, a country facing economic turmoil and political unrest. Americans are not allowed to enter Venezuela due to diplomatic tensions between the two nations. The U.S. State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory, urging Americans to avoid all travel to Venezuela due to crime, civil unrest, poor health infrastructure, kidnapping, and arbitrary arrest and detention of U.S. citizens. Venezuela has been in a state of crisis for several years, marked by hyperinflation, shortages of food and medicine, and widespread protests against the government of President Nicolas Maduro. The political situation remains volatile, with ongoing power struggles, human rights abuses, and international condemnation. American citizens attempting to enter Venezuela risk their safety and security in a country plagued by violence, lawlessness, and political instability. Thank you so much for watching our top 10 videos. We release new videos every week. Please leave a like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.